Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, and sometimes I have the most first world dreams. Sometimes I will have a dream where I'm recording something, and then I'll turn around and realise, oh shit, I'm nowhere near my microphone. Anyway, this is Even the Ocean, and this is one of the people we were looking for, who may or may not be non-binary, because it seems that I completely missed the fact that they is actually non-binary, it would seem, because they were referred to using the they pronoun, and I completely missed that somehow. So I apologise if anyone was offended by that. Okay, so we've procured Trent, but we still have no idea where Bay has gone. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume... Well, I've already assumed enough, because assuming gender... Can I drop that now? Because I've apologised for it. It's not funny if I obsess over it. Obsession... Nah. Sometimes I worry that I obsess over things too much. I'm gonna stop obsessing over obsessing now if it's all the same to you. So... I really doubt that Bay would have gone this far back, but they did say they were leaving, so... maybe? I'm sort of half tempted to keep rambling and leave this in whether Bay is back here or not. Part of me's tempted to either speed up or cut out, or no, you're allergy person. Look, I explained you a thing last time. Also, kind of... Look, we told you it was Mr. Down Clown. That's a slight grievance of mine, and I can see it happening in the background while I record this. But my commentary, no matter how I set up my microphone, it always seems that when I'm commentating, it'll keep going back to, like, I'll average out at about -6 or -3 decibels on the recording, which that won't mean much to most people. But to me, it's kind of frustrating because the higher you get, the worse the audio gets. Like, the louder you are, also the more distortion it is. I don't want to be in the -3, -6 zone. I mean, -6 is typically a good thing to average out at, but you know what? This isn't even interesting. Clearly, Bay isn't back here, so I will just meet you back up at, the highest of Boreas Heights. I apologize for this ramble, both in this direction and on this tangent. See you in a moment.
12 seconds later.
Okay, we're back where Trent was. And I guess I didn't really give a recap of what happened in the last episode, did I? Well, we got to here, Boreas Heights. There was a bit of a falling out between Bay and his Bay... Well, Bay and their Bay. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep getting that wrong, I know. It turns out you're actually just here this whole time. So I went all the way back for nothing. But anyway, we had to round up Bay and Trent. And... if they convene in the East Storm, then we can get to the power plant. So really, we don't care about their drama. No offense. But since they've been brought together in the East Storm, we can get to where we're going. And if they resolve their troubles in the process, then I guess we did a good deed while we were on our way. So, we haven't actually been down here yet, or at least I haven't, because blind playthrough. So, the three of you, have you resolved your troubles? Or at the very least... will you open the way? There's a... what? I'm not sure how to react, because first of all, there's a split key, and... there's relationship drama, and they... clearly, the key is a fusion of the three of them, and they can't fuse because... well, not marital discord, but just... relationship... I don't know if they're married. I'm just assuming they're in a relationship, not necessarily married, because this is modern times, and people can be in relationships. What is this commentary? I apologize. It's just, it seems like my brain is in a state of perpetual highness, and being in Boreas Heights doesn't really help, because this area is also at a state of perpetual highness, or so it would seem. I don't know why I've gone quiet here. I don't know how to react to any of this, because I'm kind of invested in this drama, but at the same time, we don't really know how it started. Apart from, like, we've seen a couple of flashbacks, but we're not really all that invested. But I was saying, I don't remember whether it was in the last episode or just in the video description of the last episode, but it just feels like Boreas Heights is so disconnected from the outside world that the people here are either really eccentric, or they're eccentric, therefore they moved here, and then that kind of acts as a catalyst for all the others being eccentric as well, which isn't a bad thing, just an observation. And I guess there's kind of a fable here about thinking from other people's perspectives before taking action and responding and stuff. Oh. Oh, that explains so much. Oh. See, I just assumed, and I think the idea was for you to assume that we've heard of these giant monsters that have been trampling through. I think the idea was to make us as the players or the audience assume that it was the monster that had trampled through when the real monster was disharmony. Now please just forgive Trent so that we can all move on with our lives and I can get on with this episode. Oh, I mean, I would say stop it, but, I mean, we haven't seen through their eyes, so it could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. We really shouldn't get involved. We're only getting involved because, like, why are we stopping to listen to this? Oh. But you're such a precious couple! It's like a metaphor for so many things. Vera, can you just give us permission to leave the drama zone? You butts. You sons of butts. And I'm using that as a general term. Once again, not misgendering anyone deliberately. Not talking to any of you. I'm so done with it. No, Vera, I don't want any more of the drama. Thank you for telling me what I already knew. And thanks. Oh, there was a giant monster. Yep, there we go. So there was one, it's just not the thing that was responsible for the crops being smooshed. Like, with 2.5 O's. What is half an O? Well, I guess that's true, but, I mean, try telling that to Cassidy. Except, I think Cassidy felt the same way. Her life was ripped from her. You know what? This is, like, episode 9, and it's still too soon to be joking about that. Anyway, we have finally made it into the plant. You know what, I'm gonna save while I'm here because I don't want to go through that again. Although, don't worry, I have been keeping, like, I've been saving to alternate files every episode, so I can go back if a recording fails, heaven forbid. Or if I'm just too shit to commentate properly, that's also a possibility. Anyway, the Boreas Heights power plant, we have wind turbines, we have wind. We are not surprised by any of this, both we as a collective and the royal we, because I am my most glorious self, because obviously if I spoke Japanese, then, well, fluently, then the pronoun that I'd use for myself is ore-sama, obviously, because I have that much of an ego. I'm sorry, that was meant to be sarcasm, because for the uninitiated, ore-sama is like a, as I understand it, a really, really arrogant, high opinion of oneself kind of way of saying I. Like, it sort of means kind of my most glorious self, if you were to translate it a little bit fast and loose and freely. You know, fast and loosey in the sky with diamonds. What the fuck, Tess? You're being weird. Stop it. Welcome to Did You Know Culture, starring a hexagon. I suppose that is a fair point that I could mention. That there is some irony that I call myself Tessellating Hexagons, and yet my logo is a single hexagon. And it tessellates in theory, but not in practice, because a single shape by itself isn't doing any tessellating, because that's how tessellating works. It's multiple shapes fitting together. I'm sorry, I ramble. I live to entertain, and I'm not entertaining, therefore I'm dying. Or something like that. Anyway, this has been fun so far. It's doesn't, even though the wind is like a really obvious gimmick here, it doesn't feel, oh, this is clever. It doesn't feel as gimmick heavy as the other power plants, even though it is. So the trick here is that we need to hold the shield to the right to block the energy, like, pellet things, but that also slows us down because we're holding it up against the wind. And as we've found out recently, well, it was kind of obvious anyway, but still, as we found out, Aleph-Aleph's shield kind of acts like a sail. So if it catches the wind, it'll act like a tailwind. If it resists the wind, it'll act like a headwind. And if you just hold it straight at an angle compared to the wind. Like, I still maintain it was described weirdly because every direction is perpendicular to the wind, if only because... Okay, hold a single fuck here. Yeah, whatever, let's just oversaturate on verticality, why not? Like, my argument is this. Holding the shield up, like, I'm not affected as much by this wind, but that's perpendicular, but it's also parallel because the shield is parallel to the line, like, the direction the wind is going, because the long side of the shield is parallel to horizontal. I know what I mean, I'm sorry, my brain works in mysterious ways. I'm just gonna recharge on the dark a little bit here, because we've got some pods here. Yeah. Hit me up with a single pellet and I shall deflect the rest. I'm sure at some point... Ooh. Yes, at some point, ooh, because sometimes heat. I'm making a net profit of light when I want it to be balanced. Which for no reason reminds me that when I last checked, the Spanish word for basketball is baloncesto, or baloncesto, depending on how you pronounce the letter C. It varies, or so I'm told. This is just the episode where I ramble about foreign languages in a vain, vague, vagisil attempt at being interesting. It's just one of those days, you know. Every time a green door closes, a red one opens. I looked it up, man. How do you people put up with me? Anyway, have I actually sold anyone on this game yet? Because, despite my incessant ramblings, it is fun, whether you're looking for a story-based experience, or puzzling, platform kind of fun. It's good! I will continue to scream this into the infinite void until people listen, and even then. Because, who was it? Like the Dalai Lama or someone that said that if you believe something, say it a whole load of times, and when you're sick of saying it, people will hear it for the first time. I don't know, that sounds vaguely Dalai Lama-ish. Or maybe Gandhi. Because I know it was Gandhi who said that first they ignore you, then they mock you, then they fight you, then you win. And I only knew that because it was mentioned on Game Theory once, because the time that PewDiePie was in Time magazine and they kind of took the piss out of him because TV don't believe in YouTube as a legitimate medium or something. I don't know. I feel like I should know because, being as I am a media student who does YouTube, I'm sort of at the crossroads of the two. Oh yeah, we have horizontality abundance, because that's grammar. So, in a strange way, this has been a kind of cultured episode so far in terms of commentary, because I've been talking about fairly sane... not sane. Yeah, I've been talking about Zayn Malik, obviously. I've talked about comparatively cultured topics, which, by my standards, is impressive. In other news, it's December, so there's that. I think I've written, like... Okay, actually I can tell this story. So, I mean, for one, I wrote some cards to some people who I know who really matter to me, and one such person being someone who lives in America, and apparently he received the card yesterday, and I'm surprised both that the card made it on time, looking at you, Royal Mail, and your general reputation, and also that it arrived intact, because you know what American customs is like with their hatred of Kinder eggs. That's kind of... like, that sounds like a punchline, but no, that's really what I'm thinking with this. Anyway, the actual thing I was going to say with the story, also, by the way, I didn't acknowledge just now, but I meant to. Fucking bubbles! Yay. It's combining gimmicks, and I approve. Although it was combining gimmicks the moment it put bubbles in the gas and the wind. Bubbles in the gas and the wind. So many fart. Well, I guess that's true, so many people do fart. Right. So there was a card I was writing for a relative of mine who... like, my mother was asking how I would introduce him in a conversation, and I always introduce him as my nephew who's 7 months older than me, which, I mean, you can try and riddle that out in your head. It does technically make sense, because... well, I'm not going to explain it, but technically he's my half-nephew, but, I mean, who cares? Anyway, his name is Joe, and I was writing him a card, and for some reason, on the envelope, and only on the envelope, something happened with my handwriting, and it looked like I'd addressed it to toe. And for some reason, just... bear in mind I'd spent a fair while writing cards at that point. And also, downwards wind on the edge of platforms. Clever, except it didn't affect me, but still. Little known fact about me, I am terrible at writing greetings cards, because I'll just write to whoever from... well, I wouldn't put from Tess, but, well, I might, sometimes, depending on the recipient. But I'll just put to and from. And if it's... only if it's a really close family member will I put love from. And, like, that's not me being excessively touchy about, ooh, I put love from to a male relative, that's gay incest. Like, no, that's not how my mind works, despite accusations of thinking that way. Like, I can't describe it in such a way that won't sound worse than it is, but, like, I've been asked whether that's the way I think, and it's not. It's just... I don't want to say they don't matter to me, because that would sound really dickish to the highest order, but... just, I don't know, I'm just really afraid of putting the wrong thing in a card, and that includes undue love, or love where it's not relevant, or whatever. So, at this point, I'd been writing so many cards, and worrying about every single one, and whether I'd put the right thing in them, or whatever. And just the fact that I'd basically written toe on the envelope, that just broke me, and I just sat there giggling, and that's... for all the build-up, that is the entire story. Just the fact that I addressed a card to toe. I can't apologize. I mean, I would have thought that the reason why you lovely people subscribe to me is because of my weird cannabinoid brain. Deary me. And I have no idea how much episode I have left, because I'm at 19.5 minutes of recording, but some of that's the recording test, some of that's me cutting back to the start of Boreas Heights. I'm just gonna get to the crystal lens bit and see how I feel, because the most recent episode of Cursed Mountain did last a little bit longer than I would have liked. Zip. Yes, that is a zip. I didn't jump, I didn't hold my shield, I just zipped up a zip. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-dildo. Zippity-dildo. The new hit musical coming to Broadway this Christmas, or this Kwanzaa, or this Hanukkah, or whatever it is you happen to celebrate, because we live in progressive PC times. Or Winterfest, if you're that way inclined. I've not forgotten the term. I'm rather fond of it. My mother isn't, but I am. And I've probably mentioned before how Winterfest, or whatever you want to call it, kind of an interesting time of year in the Hexagon household, because, like, it's not a case of everyone is really enthusiastic about it, so much as it is that, while we like the event itself, my mother really loves the festive spirit. Like, not necessarily the holiday, but the festive spirit. My father absolutely hates it, so my mother's sort of the bridezilla of Christmas. And my father is like the Scrooge McDuck of Christmas. Which, I mean, Scrooge McDuck was Christmas anyway, or at least at first, I think. That's probably just regular Scrooge, whatever. So, I'm sort of caught in the crossfire, but my mother is like, oh, everything has to be happy and perfect and fun, and if you're not happy, then you're doing it wrong. My father's like, don't tell me to be happy, and I'm just caught in the crossfire like, haha, also Lopez! Also, are you non-binary? Because I seem to recall you being referred to using non-binary pronouns before, and that may have been a typo, that may not have been a typo, I don't know. There's a sap pad right there, so yes, we can. Just... pardon me while I phone Obama. He will come and stand on this sap pad for me, because yes, we can. What the fresh hell is my brain? Now, why do you even have rooms designed like that, where you can walk in and accidentally lock yourself in? Like, lock yourself out, I understand, but in? That's just poor design. And hey, at least Lopez is nice. Paxton. Good grief. Also, Lopez, how did you get this far into a wind-based, platforming-based power plant with that clunky-ass suit? Also, it's a lot more orange than ours was. Or maybe that's just the colour palette of here. You say something's wrong, and I say, no shit, Sherlock, because these giant monsters that have been appearing all over the place. And next thing you know, there's going to be another wave of them attacking like Magdal Woods and Riverton and the Oscar Basin. In fact, I would be sort of tickled if those are exactly the only 3 next destinations in whatever the next... Well, I suppose it would be the next chapter, because this is Act 2, I believe. Don't know how many acts. I think there are 4 acts to this game. I don't know. That's just based on... I saw an icon that looked like a Steam achievement for this that said Act 4 complete, so... There are at least 4 acts, I think. So, I'm going to have to pop down there and grab this lens anyway, so how are you doing in your giant ass suit? We're the protagonist, it's really no big deal. No, you're not going to teleport out like Paxton did. That was such a brilliantly calculated jump on my part, I can't even. Woof. Woof. You heard it here first. Because, clearly, woof carries so many meaning, and a turkey. And, I mean, that kind of brought it back round to relevancy, because Christmas, turkey, no. I've heard that, I don't know whether it's all of Canada, or just Super Alex 641, but because America and Canada have Thanksgiving, on different days, by the way, there is a Canadian Thanksgiving, and it's on a different day from the American one. And yes, different from, not different than. And apparently, because of that, because turkey is more common as a Thanksgiving thing, stateside and Canada side, supposedly that means they have goose for Christmas, and to me that is wrong with a capital W. There is no such thing as Thanksgiving. You have turkey for Christmas and chicken or lamb, depending on your tastes, on any other Sunday of the year, implying that Christmas is always on a Sunday. It's just that's the kind of household that we rock. Because you needed... That was very relevant to this game, and you needed to know. And that's a very deviously placed slot for this lens, where if you stand on it too long, it'll boop the lens against that podtato. No. Podtato, no. That's not funny. I'm going to end the episode now. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead, and I'm not ahead. So, I have been, and will continue to be, not ahead. Tessellating not a Hexagons. And I'll see you in the next episode of Even the Ocean, where perhaps, just perhaps, I can keep focus for long enough to commentate decently for a change. Here's hoping, and see you then.